You're listening to Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio, helping you understand the blocks you have in your life to being happy, with a wide variety of guests to help you better understand the problems you're having in your own life. Whether you're depressed, poverty-stricken, suffering ill health, or confused about how to take the next step, discover products, services, and information that will enable you to grow with grace and address issues that are preventing you from happiness, health, or abundance. Go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk and find out what's holding you back.
Hello everyone, and you are listening to Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio, where we discuss spiritual growth, what that means, and how it can help you to move forward through the blocks that you have to health and happiness. I am your host, Caroline Nettle, and today's guest is Lucinda Drayton. Welcome, Lucinda.
Hello, Caroline. Lovely to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're with us today. I can speak twice there. Yes, now, for those of you who've not heard of Lucinda, she has been singing and songwriting for most of her life. And I had the wonderful pleasure of having her sing to me on a retreat one time. And it was a truly moving experience. And what I'd like to share with my listeners is that we were all in the same room, and there were many of us, and Lucinda had very kindly agreed to sing individually to each one of us. And when it came to my turn, I can't remember very much of what she said, but the words that I do remember were, "For eyes that have seen so much pain." And we were just talking about it before the show, and basically I just felt a really huge shift in my energy as she sang those words to me, almost like she'd validated me, and it felt like she was channeling spirit. That's how it felt to me, and it was just such a beautiful, moving, wonderful experience for me. So I'm thrilled to have her on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about, how she got to where she is and what her view on spiritual growth is. So, Lucinda, please feel very welcome. And if you'd like to talk to the listeners a little bit about, how you got into the music business and what music means to you.
It started, I think, probably as early as I can remember. I just always sang. I always felt very connected to music. And there was a lot of music in my house. I grew up with a father who sang very early in the morning. And we sang around the kitchen table, and it was just very much part of life. And I think it was very clear to me at 14, 15 that that's what I wanted to do. I joined a band, and as my father said the first time he saw me sing, we've lost her. That's what he said to my mum. In a pub. It was a little tiny pub in Liskeard in Cornwall. And from there, really, I was lost in music, as Sister Sledge once said. And it took me on a real journey. I realised that it was my identity for a long time, but then when I went on my spiritual journey, I began to unravel that. What would I be if I wasn't a musician? Who am I without my music? And so a big change came then, and the kind of music I started making came at that point too, because music was no longer my identity. It was something I used for service.
How beautiful. Now, how did that come about? Did you have, a kind of an awakening, or was it something that happened gradually?
I'd always asked very deep questions about why we're here, what's it all about, is there a God, all of those big questions. So I was always a spiritual seeker. But I remember very clearly being on a workshop, and we were asked to write I am, I like, I love, then fill in the gaps. And I wrote, I am a singer. And I looked at it, and because I'd been doing a lot of meditation before that workshop, I was beginning to experience myself as a non-physical entity, as a consciousness point, if you like. Wow. And yet I saw this sentence, I am a singer, and I thought, okay, so in this physical dimension, I completely identify myself with what I do, and I knew that was quite dangerous, because who are you when you don't do that anymore? It's like I am a mother. Who who are you when your kids leave? Yeah. And so it was at that point, I think, that I began to really focus on, well, who am I? And my practice is a meditation practice called Raja Yoga, and that practice focuses all the time on I am a being of peace, I am a being of light, I am a being of love. I am not my body, I am not my thoughts, I am not my job, I am not these roles that I play in my life. I'm an eternal being of peace. So that's a very different perspective from which to live your life. So it was a big shift for me.
And how did that affect your music?
Well, I became less attached to my music because when you are an eternal being, you are less attached to everything. So I didn't feel so in ownership of it. So I was able to just bring through whatever was floating by and not question. So, for example, I would bring through these lyrics that seemed to be ridiculous to me, but I would say, well, that's just what's there, so bring it through. That's how it felt.
Okay, and I read that you were quite mainstream and then got the sack.
Yeah.
They ditched you. That must have been, were you still in your ego at that stage, or had you been meditating a lot?
Oh, I think I'm still in my ego now.
that's a good point, sorry.
If I wasn't, I probably would have left. But the question was, okay, so I got dumped by the record company, the manager, the publisher, all of those people. And my spiritual community all said, oh, fantastic, now you can do what you're supposed to be doing. And I was so in the practice of that yogi kind of life that it really didn't hurt as much as it probably should have or would have if I hadn't been. So I kind of just moved on to the next phase. And my only agenda for the first new album was to create beauty. And it just people started to connect with it and use it and buy it.
And it is my humble opinion that you succeeded in doing what you set out to do. I think, it's 100,000 Angels, isn't it, that you're talking about?
No, actually, it was before that. It was an album called Through These Eyes, which is the one before that, which has love, peace, and wisdom on it.
Okay, I will admit I haven't heard that one, but
yeah,
I met you through Sarah Cox, who started playing 100,000 Angels, and we were all transfixed. We were sitting in that beautiful, room in Somerset and just listening, and it's just such wonderful music. I think it's really amazing, and it does feel as if you've had some help from the other side, as it were.
Oh, definitely, in every single area of my life, absolutely. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that.
That's fantastic. And hats off to you, because so many people I interview are talking about what it will be like when they have, got in the flow. And, so it's wonderful to talk to someone who is obviously living that. So let's talk a little bit about what music is. Why is music such a healing, powerful instrument?
I don't know. But my feeling is that somehow it bypasses the conceptual left brain and it moves us straight into the creative, intuitive side, which can go straight to the heart. And I don't know how that happens. I don't need to know, but that seems to be what happens.
So it touches us on a very deep level.
Yeah, that bypasses the intellectual and the conceptual and takes us straight into the heart of things. I mean, I think we need both. We need the conceptual, but we also need this other side, which is way beyond reason and maybe can take us into that place of release or tears or an incredible experience of love. I went and listened to one of my new tracks that's being worked on in the studio a couple of days ago. And I just was in tears, And I think when you are detached from what you do, it can move you. Because you're not like, oh, is this good, is it bad? It's just like, oh my God, this is beautiful, this is so powerful. Where did it come from?
Will we ever know? I mean, I'm wondering if when we get home, as I like to call it, the other side, whether or not there'll be music playing like that all the time. Who knows? It is truly something that if you look back through the history books and everybody, most societies have fantastic music as one of the things that they do. And I'm always really aware of the fact that I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago sometimes, but if a song comes on the radio, wow, do I know all the words from 35 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just, there's something about it that really associates with a part of our brain that really makes us alive. And the other thing I wanted to say was, when I was in my really dark times, I think I had a tendency to love really dark music. There was something about it that, obviously it wasn't doing me any good. And somebody said, look, if you're slightly depressed, be really careful of the music you listen to. And as I changed the music to much more up-tempo, uplifting music, wow, did my depression lift quickly. It was really phenomenal. So I'm really aware of how music can completely do something that perhaps drugs or therapy, for me anyway, didn't really help that depression, but the music really did.
That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, absolutely. And yet there are times when maybe dark music can articulate for you what you can't articulate for yourself that actually does need to be said. I mean, I'm a great believer in embracing the shadow, but yes, you're right. When there's depression there and and there is a need to move out of that, then yes, music can help. Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking of all the cultures and the societies where they tell their stories, so they hand down tradition through singing. And I just, I've been really blessed this lifetime. I'm a bit of a nomad and I like to travel, and I like to travel in a way that I go into the community and I sit with the women. And, that's what I like to do. And I've just seen some phenomenal, community building kind of, it's such a blessing to watch these women who couldn't give a stuff what they look like, have probably never seen a mirror, but here they are handing down how to grow wheat and how to weave cotton and, through song. And it's, most of the time I didn't have a clue what they were singing about because it wasn't in my language. But, wow, it was just such a blessing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That oral tradition is beautiful. And I think it goes through more than just music. It's our storytelling, our dancing, our silence, and our singing, that connects us and binds us. And we've lost a lot of that, I think, which is why the retreats I run are so popular and powerful, because people get a chance to do that. They get to sing and dance and play and read each other's stories and paint. It's the creative spirit needs to be fed. It needs to show itself.
Absolutely, and I'm just thinking of, we're kind of, if we allow ourselves to be, we could literally be force-fed. This is what you should think. This is the music you should listen to. I'm always really saddened by these children that don't know how to play in the mud, for example, or have never climbed a tree, or, have never grown potatoes, or whatever it is. There seems to be a real lack in some children's experiences of outside, the outdoors. So, yeah, I can really appreciate that your workshops or retreats would be, really fantastic, especially for those that live in a city and haven't really, have disconnected, shall we say, from the natural side of ourselves. And, Okay, well, do you know what? I think I'd like to play one of your songs, and we talked about playing Sit Right Here first. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how it came about?
Well, my partner, Marcus, who's a musician, gave me a backing track and said, I've come up with this piece, have a listen. And when I write, if I write with a partner, I can often hear the song inside the music. And for this piece of music, I knew there was a song in there, I just couldn't hear it for a long time. But I wouldn't give up on it, I just kept listening and listening. And I just sat very still and waited. I waited for it to reveal itself. And I was sitting I have a little mill house in Cornwall, I did have. And I was looking out the window one day, just sitting, watching, and the song just arrived. And it is about sitting quietly when you don't know what to do, when things are chaotic, to have that courage to sit still and wait. Just sit still and wait for the right moment, wait for the clarity. Somebody said to me recently, when Michelangelo was asked what genius was when he was painting the Sistine Chapel, he said, eternal patience is genius.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
And often that's the hardest course of action to choose, isn't it?
Yes, it is, especially in our Western world of absolute doing. Everything is about doing and not so much is about being.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so here it is then. I'm really looking forward to playing this for you. This is Sit Right Here by Lucinda Drayton.
There's a house by a stream where the sun sits on the water. You can learn to stop thinking without falling asleep, falling asleep. I'm tired of running in circles, and I'm tired of chasing my tail. Gonna sit right here, gonna sit right here, gonna watch the sunset, gonna watch the butterflies, gonna watch the flowers grow, gonna watch my washing dry, gonna sit right here, gonna sit right here, and I'm never waiting on time, looking for the answers, looking for signs, no expectations, no need to try, all you ever know is love is coming through you. And I'm tired of running in circles, and I'm tired of chasing my tail, and I'm tired of looking for rainbows and ending up soaked in the rain. Gonna sit right here, gonna sit right here. Gonna sit right here, gonna sit right here, gonna watch the sunset, gonna watch the clouds go by, gonna watch the leaves change, gonna watch the swallows fly, gonna sit right here, gonna sit right here. Gonna sit right here, saying nothing to me.
And that was Sit Right Here from Lucinda Drayton. And thank you for that, Lucinda. I think it's a wonderful song.
Yeah, nice hearing that again.
Yeah. Must be strange having sung it yourself. I can't imagine ever singing anything to a tape and then listening to it on a radio station, because I'm not that musical. Having said that, I have other talents, so that's okay. Tell us a little bit about, so let's talk about how to find that sense of peace, that stillness within.
Well, I think the first thing is you have to make time, and there's a bit of practice. And for me, there's the mindfulness kind of movement, the practice of just sitting and watching what goes on. Here I am, and I'm sitting quietly, and I allow whatever is to be, and I bring my focus to my breath. I mean, this is one very simple but profound method of coming to peace, and it's almost as if the byproduct is peace. So I sit quietly, I focus on my body, I focus on my breath, and the byproduct is often that I become peaceful. So that's one method. And it's profound. I mean, that sounds very simple, and it is, but you could spend the rest of your life doing that. I mean, that's a very Buddhist practice. Or there's the other practice, which I did for many, many years with the Brahma Kumaris, the Raja Yoga practice, which is I sit here in the body. I become aware of myself as a non-physical being sitting at the third eye. And I am a being of peace. My nature is peace. This is who I am. And so I focus on this kind of peaceful thought. I take one thought. I am peace. And when other thoughts come, I just let them pass by, and I come back to this thought. I am an eternal being of peace. Om Shanti. I am peace. So this is very different. This is taking the mind and directing the mind to peace. So there's two different ways of realizing some kind of peace. But as a therapist, I'm also aware that, sometimes in order to rest in the present, one has to clean up the past a little bit. And so sometimes there's some emotional processing to do. There's also the physical aspects of taking care of my body so it can be peaceful, So it's never a one-dimensional thing for me anymore. Peace is such a deep thing.
It really is. It really is. And speaking from someone who didn't have a clue what peace was, to now I have moments of it, and that's through, quite a long journey, but, I didn't know what I was missing before, but now I've got it. I wouldn't give it away for love nor money, and so if I'm talking here to someone who's really got no concept of what peace is, to me, it's like taking off hundreds of different coats and just sitting in my nakedness and being okay with it. I suppose that's what peace is to me. It feels like I'm, like you say, one with everything and just okay. I'm not striving to be better. I'm not anything. I'm just literally sitting in the moment. And it's such a blessing. So, if what Lucinda has just said helps you, I felt really peaceful when you were saying it, actually. So that's something I might definitely try. And, the whole point of having this radio show for me was to help others on their journey to, I've gone through a heck of a journey, as most of us have, and I just wanted to share all the different aspects of what I found, hoping that, each time we play one show, somebody will, get some benefit out of it. So, and if peace is the byproduct of this radio show, I'll be a very happy bunny. And let's talk a little bit more about the music then. So, do you find yourself saying, oh, that's my favourite, or, I'm not so fond of this one, and then finding that's really popular, or do you love them all as a family, or how does it work?
I don't. Once I've finished an album, I don't really get too involved. I just bring through what needs to be brought through, and then I move on. Obviously, there are certain songs that resonate with people, like 100,000 Angels has a deep resonance with people.
Yes.
And I totally respect that. And I never tire of singing it. I suppose I have some songs that I have different phases where some songs I really enjoy singing, and if I haven't sung them for a while, then it's like, oh, I so enjoyed that on my tongue again, But no, I don't have favourites. No, they're just like clouds in the sky. They come and they go. Yeah. And then other people take them and they make different things of them, and they're no longer mine. Once they're out there, they go and do what they do, and wow, they do amazing things.
Wow. And how how do you see yourself, growing in the future? Because you seem to, I was just reading about you today, you're a very busy lady. And what sort of projects have you got in the offing going forward?
Well, I've just finished a CD for people living with cancer. So, because I was surrounded by people with cancer. So it's a series of meditations that were born out of a lot of interviews with people who were sick, body workers, Macmillan nurses, hospice workers. And one thing that they all said that they felt was needed was love. So I created a CD called Love Surrounds You, which is a song and a series of meditations and affirmations. So I think next year I'd like to maybe, set up a tour of hospices or healing centres and go and do that, go and do that album. So we'll see. So that's one project I've got on the back burner. And the other one is this new music album which I've got going, which is very powerful, and I'm really enjoying being back in the studio again. So probably going out and playing that will be part of next year, and the ongoing retreats and workshops which I just love doing.
And just to clarify, those are all in the UK, are they, or do you do those internationally?
Abroad. Recently, just because of energy, but I have been to. I've did a lot of group work in LA. I've done some work in Australia, Ireland. Is that abroad yet? Love time. So I'm kind of open to that kind of travelling, but quite a lot of them are in the UK. Yeah.
And where are you based?
I'm based in South London now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to go on one of those courses, they just find you on your website. Is that right?
Yeah, LucindaDrayton.com. Yes.
LucindaDrayton.com.
And just have a look through the diary and see what takes you fancy. And there's a few concerts coming up as well.
Oh, okay. All right, good. And how is doing a concert in front of lots of people?
It doesn't need to be in front of lots of people. I'm happy to sing to a small crowd of people. What I love is the connection, looking into people's eyes and and singing to them. So there's something very powerful about being sung to, especially if you never had that kind of nurturing when you were little.
Yes.
It's very direct communication, and so I enjoy that more and more. It feels less and less of a performance and more of a creating a space where we can come together. That feels more fulfilling for me these days.
Yeah, and as I shared at the beginning of the show, for me it was so moving. I mean, I remember how I felt, what you said, it was just such a powerful...
Yeah, it is. It's quite intimidating, so I wouldn't go up to anybody and just sing to them, I don't intimidate anybody in that way, but you can usually tell when people are okay with it or they're not, to actually sing directly to them, and I do in the audience, like you can sense people and you can see their eyes. And,
How wonderful. What a gift you have.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed and lucky.
So when you had that thing of what am I without singing, what would you do if you weren't a singer?
Well, my immediate answer to that question, who am I if I'm not a singer, is I am a soul. I am a spiritual being. So if I can really connect to that identity, it actually doesn't matter what I do, because whatever I do will bring me through and bring that divine aspect of me through. So I could be a road sweeper and I could transform the streets if I can road sweep with my presence and love. And I see people doing that. I do see people doing that. And, maybe they're the real masters,
Quite possibly. And I sometimes wonder when I'm musing to myself, is that what we've lost? If we have all this rage and violence and, is it that we've lost that deep connection and deep understanding that actually I am divine and you are divine and everything is divine, and therein lies the wisdom that you were just talking about of, well, if I'm in my divine self, I'm able to serve, and by serving it brings me joy and meaning to life and things like that. And I do sometimes feel that we're so disconnected from that in so many ways.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we are, and I think the wonderful kind of rebirth that's going on in our world is that people are beginning to wake up again, and finding their own way through their spiritual practice or their religion or their painting or their dancing. And a lot of people do 5 rhythms dance and they wake up that way, or through fishing or through swimming. I would never presume to tell anybody how to do it, but we all have our way.
And isn't it just so wonderful? I'm a healer too, and when you can help someone to see it for themselves, it's so wonderful. It's really wonderful. And I had a lady who she just emailed me. She's just got back from 6 months in Australia on her own, and when I started working with her, she wouldn't leave the house. And that to me, that just brings me great pleasure, because she's got over the abject fear of everything and everyone, and thought, right, what do I really want to do? I want to travel for 6 months and just find myself a little bit. And it sounds to me like she did, and gosh, that just makes me so happy. I'm so thrilled for her.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all here to facilitate each other's growth, and
and hopefully help people to wake up. And of course, I'm one of these people. You mentioned the word patience, and I literally missed the cue when I was lining up for that one. So I'm a really impatient so-and-so, which makes meditation sometimes a bit more challenging. But I was just talking to actually Sarah Cox one time, and I said, listen, I'm telling these clients that if they just could stop smoking, or if they go to bed a little bit early, I'm giving them real common sense advice, and they're coming back and telling me they're not doing it. And she said, well, maybe they're not going to get it this lifetime, Caroline. Oh, okay. Yes, it's not about me and my, being able to help them. It's about when they're ready to do it. So that was a really good lesson for me.
Yeah. My teacher says my job is to put out the best buffet I can put out, and then it's up to other people what they pick up.
Oh, I like that.
I like that, because there's no force involved. There's no control. There's no advice. It's like, here it is. What do you want to pick up?
Yeah, no, I really like that. I'm swallowing that one. I'm like, it's going through me. Okay, well, let's look at the next song that we're going to play then, which is called Poor Pride. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that one?
No, this is a very deep song for me. This, oh God, I love singing this. It's one of those songs that when I hear it, I'm really proud of it. It's about going through a really tough time in your life. Times that sometimes where you think your happiness will never return. You'll never get back the sunshine again. And yet, somehow we do. Somehow we do return to happiness. We return to peace, and we return to hope again. And it's about that, coming through that dark period. And the final chorus says, but I still believe in Christmas, and I still wish on a star. And I don't know why I get back to that, but I do. So it's about the break. For me, it's about the smashing of the ego. When the ego is smashed, and then I come back and I rise again.
Can't wait to play it for you all. Okay, so here is Poor Pride by Lucinda Drayton.
This poor pride has bowed its head down. So far it tasted murder. And this poor head has been lifting like an old coat. This poor dignity
That was beautiful. Poor pride.
Yep.
What a wonderful choice of words as well, because I think pride can often be our downfall. And I was just thinking whilst I was listening to that, you know, sometimes when I'm in my ego and my pain, I can't see the light. And I think that's what that song felt like. It was really talking to that real sense of, oh God, it's awful, you know. And that really touched me deeply.
Good. Yeah, so I said it's just telling the truth, you know, that's what I experienced. It was, you know, I remember one of my teachers saying to me, bow down and taste the dirt, or something like that. In other words, you know, don't resist. Everything is falling apart, so just to go with it. Let yourself fall in a way. Because through that, you learn something so deep about compassion, about how strong you are, about how arrogant you can be, about how little you know, about real humility, and about how real the divine or God or whatever name you want to give that is, because you will always be held. And that's been my experience. And even now, when I go into fear, I have to remind myself, but have you ever been let down? Have you ever been dropped? Have you ever not been held? And the answer is no, I haven't. So, and then I ask myself the question, so why are you afraid now? Why do you not have that faith and that trust now? Why?
Because somewhere in your brain something's telling you that it's all dark and miserable and horrible and you're going to die. And I often wonder what the purpose of the ego is for that exact reason. But no, I did exactly the same when I first started speaking to the angels. I was a little bit mistrustful of the divine, shall we say that? And, you know, I'm far from that now, but, you know, and I had this long conversation in my mind with Archangel Uriel, and I was like, look, listen, you know, it was awful. What were you doing? And he said, no, but you're still here because of me. Oh, and that makes me tearful now, you know, it's just like, yeah, no, and when I look back, there was someone protecting me. I just wasn't aware of it at all. And, it, you know, it's such a beautiful thing, you know, and I call it angels, other people might call it God. Like you say, it doesn't matter what you believe in, just that you've got, you know, a really good connection with something outside of yourself that's on your side. I think that's really important. And that, for me, was a very big learning curve from, oh God, I'm all on my own and frightened and I'm going to die and all of that, to, yeah, wow, isn't it powerful when you get into alignment and you know, everything just starts changing. It's a really powerful journey, this earth life, would you not say?
Absolutely, but it's, you know, surrender and faith and all of those things, they're no joke, you know, and to talk about them and write about them is one thing, to live them is very different.
Yes.
To live them is very, very different. And that's what I aim for, to live them. And that's really hard. It's hard. It's scary. It's, you know, you feel like you go one step forward and two back. And, yeah, I don't know. I think I talk less these days because I realise how little I know. And actually living it is a different thing. And it's like, you know, it's like the swan. They're gliding on the surface, but underneath their legs are going 10 to the dozen. And that's often how I feel, you know. Believe me, you have no idea how hard I am working just to maintain some semblance of okayness. You know, in surrender, in belief in myself, and yeah. I don't want to sound negative, because it's not negative, but I am a little bit wary of the self-help world, which says, you know, buy this book, come to this course, and your life will change, and you'll be fine. The truth is, you have to work very hard. You will be fine, and yes, it's all true. Patience is a genius, you know. Patience, practice, and compassion. These these are the things you need. Lots of patience with yourself. Lots of self-care and compassion for yourself. And, yeah, just keep going. Keep going. And get support, get support from good friends, not people who put you down, but good friends, and support from good teachers. And don't think that it'll all be sorted out in 6 months, because it might not be.
No, and, sometimes I really disagree with all the positive thinking affirmations thing, because if you don't know what's in your subconscious mind and that's what's ruling your life, it can be very well to say, yes, I'm wealthy and healthy and happy. But if your subconscious mind is saying, actually rubbish, and this is why, and you know what I mean? I get so cross with people who say, oh, just think happily. No. But tell me what you think, or what does surrendering look like for you?
Oh, it's terrifying. I did so much spiritual study for so many years, and I would read about surrender every couple of days, and I would see it as a word, surrender. Oh, yeah, surrender. Yeah, let's all surrender. And then, I was asked to live it, and I am being asked to live it, and it's just, God, it's massive. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. I don't know. I'm still learning. I have no idea, Caroline.
Well, I was just cheekily hoping you would tell me. I have this new project which I'm doing, so I'm going to raise a lot of money and go and plant 1 million trees in Africa, because I've been working with the Tree Sisters, and the research that they did said that that's the most, effective place. Plus, I'm totally addicted to baby elephants, which you will see if you go on my Facebook page. Anyway, and the message is always, get out of the way. It will happen. The money will come. Just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing, isn't it? And I'm like, well, what does that mean? What do you mean? Tell me what you mean. So yes, I'm a little bit further down the path. I mean, like, not as far down the path as you. I'm still going, what does that mean? What do you mean, get out the way?
Yeah, it means you're being asked to walk your faith.
Yes.
Not to talk about it, but to live it. To live with that absolute knowing that it will come, and to just let go, get on with your life.
Yes.
Sing, dance, be happy, do what you do, and the money's coming. It's already coming.
Yes.
This is faith, but to live it is different than to talk about it.
Absolutely. But the thing is, when I close my eyes, I can see it. So it's so concrete in my mind.
So that's it. Now you just see it and you get off.
You have to just, wait. And be patient, which again, I forgot to sign up for that one.
Yeah. Trees don't grow. They don't grow in 5 minutes. They take a long time to grow.
They do.
And we need patience.
And maybe you'd like to come and sing to my trees.
I would. Who knows? I love Africa.
Oh, me too. Okay, so if people want to get hold of spend a little bit of time telling my listeners how you help people, please, Lucinda.
Well, I don't know if I help people, but I certainly try to create spaces where they can access their own power and their own guidance. I run various workshops one day, mindfulness courses. There's one in London, actually, on the 29th. In Clapham, I think it's almost full, because I tend to work with small groups. You can go on my website, lucindadrayton.com, have a look at the diary. There's some concerts coming up. I run courses. I also run a private practice as a therapist, so I do work with some people one-on-one a couple of days a week, so that's also an option. That's about it, really. The songs were from The Mirror, just in case people wanted to get that. They're from an album called The Mirror. So.
And is that your latest album?
It's the last one I did as a solo project, yes.
Okay.
Marcus, so.
And if anyone's listening and they're thinking, oh, I'd like to hire Lucinda, is that something that they can do if they're living in Boston or somewhere like that and they want to organise a get-together? Great.
Absolutely, they can. Yes, I can come as a workshop leader. And I use the music with everything. I sing to people in my workshops as well. Or they can book my band for a concert. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds fabulous. So what's coming up for you is you're were going to do. I think that the tour of hospices and things like that just sounds so fantastic.
Yeah, that's something I've got in my mind for next year. Last year I did a silence tour. So I kept silent for 10 days, and I only broke my silence when I sang at concerts during that time, and that was incredibly powerful.
I've always said I wanted to do that and never quite got round to it. I've done a couple of days, like one day and then another day, you know what I mean? But I've never...
Oh, it was amazing.
I need to do it.
It was beautiful. So that happened by just having the thought and making it happen. So I'm sure the kind of tour for this Love Surrounds You, the Love Surrounds You tour. I mean, how can that not?
That's just, it sounds so perfect. And I have, like I said, I have experienced your being sung to by you, and it's just so powerful. So, gosh, if I can help in any way promoting that, I'd be happy to, really happy to.
Very much. That would be lovely.
Okay. So, just to leave it then, I think we've come to the end of the interview. So I just want to say, Lucinda, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate listening to you, and you're such an inspiration, so thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do.
One does one's best. And I definitely meant that about coming out to Africa. Maybe we'll have a silent, in the middle of the trees, retreat with song.
That'd be lovely. If we can add a couple of baby elephants, because I've also got a thing about elephants too. I was lucky enough to be taken on safari in Kenya, and I remember the most incredible thing for me was just watching the elephants. They are the most beautiful creatures. I don't know. I can't even tell you why, but I haven't had children this lifetime, and I'm glad about that. I think it was the right thing to do. And but I'm such a mother in my astrological chart, and here I am going, baby elephants, crazy for them. And I posted today on my Facebook page a picture of the baby elephants playing football. Oh. Honestly, I've watched it 4 times and just laughed and cried because it's so fun. They're so adorable. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm actually interviewing a lady tomorrow from Elephants for Africa for the podcast that I'm going to set up on iTunes. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, she's going to talk to me about where I can find some land to plant the trees, which is next to an orphanage or something like that. So that seems to me ideal for me. Good. We love the tree project. We love trees.
We do. We should love them more. But I was reading horrible statistics that in Kenya they've got 2% of the forest that they had, and they've said that they're going to plant 7.6 billion trees. So I think I'm going to go and help them with that.
Good.
All right, Lucinda. Well, as I said, it was a real delight talking to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I highly recommend any listeners to go and look Lucinda up at Lucinda Drayton, DRAYTON.com. And definitely, if you have never heard her 100,000 Angels album, please go and buy it, because it's probably one of the most profound pieces of music that I listened to in a time when I was in a really dark place, and it really helped me. So, okay, Lucinda, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Yes, thanks for coming on. Okay, so next week we're going to be listening to Darren Wordley, who's a friend of mine. It is actually my birthday on the 1st of July, and I'm still going to do the show. And Darren is a wonderful person who I have sat in circle with, and he is going to talk to us about working with spirit and his journey to, he's now leading seances and things like that. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to him. Thank you for listening to us on Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio. And if you'd like to make a donation to help with the running costs of the show, then please go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk, and you'll find a page with the radio shows, and you'll see a PayPal button that you can help to keep the show going. Thank you for listening in. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be kept informed about the upcoming shows that you will not want to miss. Stay safe, and I hope you find the tools that you need to grow with grace this week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Spiritual Growth Tools live on the radio. For more information, go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk.